Starting your own practice is hard for many chiropractors. It's riddled with both struggles and successes. But here at the Chiropractic Philanthropist, we make it easy by having chiropreneurs and entrepreneurs share their struggles and lessons learned in life and business so that you don't have to make the same mistakes. And now here's your host, Dr. Ed Osborne.
How amazing would it be if you could practice because you want to, not because you have to? Learn how to improve your cash flow and increase your passive income now. Go to moneyripples.com or find their podcast, The Chris Miles Money Show, to learn more. All right, TCP listeners, I have an incredible guest today, and that is Chris Miles. Returning guest, Chris Miles. How you doing, Chris?
Fantastic, Ed. How you doing, man?
Really good. I actually had a really good conversation before we started this. It probably saved me a lot of money.
That's the whole point, right?
That's exactly the whole point. And that's at that point, actually, I said, I think we should start recording this. So this is a really relevant discussion for doctors. And we've been talking actually on the Chiropractic Philanthropist, like a lot about finances and money lately. So I'm really glad to have you on the show because this is on the mindset of so many doctors and small business owners. So before we get started, why don't you share a little bit about you, and then we'll get into some Q&A.
Yeah, so I'm basically like an anti-financial advisor, right? My whole focus is about cash flow. I'm all about how do we actually improve cash flow now and have passive income so that you work because you want to, not because you have to, right? So you don't have to struggle every day. So no matter what happens, no matter what governments say, whether they say you're a quack or not, or whether they try to shut you down or not, like you're good. Like you're comfortable, you're set, you're confident, you have peace of mind, and you have freedom. And when you do that, then you create that ripple effect that allows you to be able to serve and impact more people's lives, right? And that's my big thing is like, once I can liberate you, I can help liberate others too. It's that ripple effect we're trying to create.
And I mean, one of the things I asked you before we ever got on this recording today was, I'm like, hey man, are you really busy? Are you finding you're like busier than ever? Are you finding that you're not busy? Like it's really like what's going on in the current climate down in the States? Is that affecting your business? You're like, man, I'm as busy as I want to be and still busy. And those are all good things. So clearly what you're doing is helping your clients, but you use this term, you said actually get lean. So tell us about this concept of getting lean.
Yeah, so it's kind of going back to what I was teaching people 10 years ago, right? Because, I mean, although I was able to retire 3 years ago, if you would have looked back 10, 12 years ago, I was a train wreck, right? Like I was like, not millionaire, I was upside down millionaire, like I was over $1 million in debt, $16,000 in the hole each month during the last recession, right? And so it sucked. Like it was just the horrible time. And not to mention, I was actually teaching people how to become financially free at that time. Mm-hmm. So now I feel like I'm a charlatan, right? So I'm like, okay, I'm full of crap. I can't tell people how to get out of the rat race when I'm back in it. So I started teaching people what I was doing myself, because I avoided bankruptcy. I actually was able to pull out of this thing without having to go bankrupt and dig out of a hole where I had no money, no savings, no credit, nothing, And so get lean really just means is how can you live a life that you're a wise steward of your money and be kind of clever with it, but you're not actually living on rice and beans, like our good old friend Dave Ramsey would say, right? Like we're not living a life of crap and scarcity, So get lean really just means like, hey, let's look and manage our money, because I know, especially among docs, it's so easy to not want to look at your money, right? It's just like, hey, I'm about service. I'm trying to help people. And hey, I'm just going to keep working. And if I just make more money, it'll solve my money problems. And that's never been the case. Like making more money doesn't solve money problems. It just amplifies it, right? And so the biggest thing you got to start doing is like really like watching your money, like tracking the money that's coming in, yes, and track the money that's going out. Watch both ways. Now, all these people that are trying to tell you to be cheap will say to get like not lean, but get broke, right? But those are the people who are saying only look at the expenses. But you got to look at both sides of the equation, because that's the thing that creates cash flow. So yes, we want to look at expenses, get rid of the stuff that's not serving you, right? I'll give you an example. Like maybe you guys may have heard of the Paretos Principle, the whole 80-20 rule, right? I remember 5 years ago, I was kind of going through a little mini dip, recession of myself, as I was going through a divorce, because emotionally your life sucks, and I was only working 5 hours a week. I couldn't do much. And I remember like thinking, I can't even manage more than 5 hours a week because emotionally I'm just drained. I could have had more than enough time, but I didn't have the energy. And so it got me to reassess, like what many people are starting to do right now with this whole virus thing, right? People are sort of reassess and say, what's really necessary? Like what's really productive? What's really impactful? And I started looking at everything. So I looked at marketing, for example, like what was I spending my money on marketing? And I looked at it, I said, you know what? The best clients I'm getting aren't from speaking on live stages. It's not necessarily from going out and going to these networking groups locally and all that kind of stuff, because I was more virtual anyways. I'm like, it was really podcasts. So I just trimmed all the fat, cut out all the fluff, right? Got rid of all these busy activities I was doing, went just down to, hey, how can I do more podcasts? I can even get on interviews and do that. And the crazy thing is that even though I was still working 5 to 10 hours a week, right, as I was starting to pull out emotionally, I was like doubling my profits from the weeks I was working the year prior, like 50-hour weeks.
Wow.
And that's the thing is like when you get lean, it's like, hey, get lean on your time. Like what's really a productive use of your time? Do you really need to pay for those employees? When I had a doc, I remember he was a chiropractor in Colorado, and he's just like, I was looking at his numbers. This was like 10 years ago. I'm like, crap, like you're addicted to stuff and staff. Like he had people that were sitting around twiddling their thumbs doing nothing, but he liked to have a busy office, right? It made him feel good for his ego. It's the same thing. He had like a proper investment property that wasn't paying him anything. And he's like, hold on to it for 5 years till my kid goes to college, and then they'll use it and then they'll rent it out. I'm like, but this thing's got 80,000 of equity. You've got 40,000 of credit cards. We could pay off 40,000 credit cards, free up $1,100 a month now. You're making $100 a month on this property. We can make $1,100. Like, sell that freaking property. He's like, yeah, but what do I have to show for it? I'm like, exactly. That's your problem. It's all stuck in your head. Now I'm all about buying rental properties. I do that myself, but it's find that right priority of what's really important, right?
Yeah.
So that's the expense side, but the income side, the same thing too, is what's really going to help you be the most productive and make more money.
Well, I think a lot of docs are sitting back right now and they're being forced to be lean, like especially inside of their business. Like, I mean, like I have a doc here in town, like a friend of mine, he had to let 48 people go. Like it's everyone's getting forced to reassess their business. I feel like a lot of people have been exposed in their business and caught off guard, and in their preparation. So, and I also feel though with their health, it's the same thing. They've been caught off guard. It's like, hey man, I'm actually one of those people who could be at high risk is what they're finding. So they're reassessing their health, they're reassessing their business and how they're operating inside of their life. So let me ask you this. Like, I mean, I'm one of those crazy people who's, I must have a horseshoe, I think, up my butt, dude. So I have no stock. Like I cashed out all our stocks and stuff like that years ago.
Good.
Just but it's just kind of sitting there. Like it's all liquid. And is that so that's a good position to be in right now. But if you were one of those people where it's like, hey, you're just sitting on cash right now, what would you tell them to do with it? I mean, put it in stock. What do they buy rentals? I mean, neither of those seem to be like those are the traditional things, but they don't seem like a solution right now.
Yeah, it really depends on where you're at. So first priority, and this is why I told my clients like last month, right? I did like an emergency call. I said, guys, you got to act now. And even right now, you could still do some of these things, but the time's running out. Like this is a deadline, right? So for example, I was telling like, get lean, get liquid, and get out, so like get liquid. That's the first thing, because after you get lean, you can cut back only so much, and you don't want to cut back too much because then you can't produce, right? You don't want to sacrifice at the risk of losing production. But now I told them, I said, let's get liquid. First and foremost, you got to have at least your good 6 months of expenses home. And I would even say at least minimum 3 or 4 months of expenses for business, right? So for some of us, I mean, that might be like, okay, I got that cash there. And it's going to feel like you're burning a hole in your pocket.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Because it's actually okay right now to be patient, because, if you start, and obviously the chiropractic, I think is still an essential service. And I know many people's, even governments are still feeling that way, luckily, for now. But that's the thing is like, we want to make sure we can ride through that. And the biggest thing is you want to protect your mind, like your mindset, right? Stay in that place of abundance, stay in that place of service, because as you come out through the other side of this, I'm saying like 6 to 9, 12 months out, right? You're going to see who actually were not prepared. Your competition will be gone. It's going to be like a tidal wave rushes through and just sweeps out everything. And only the strongest, heaviest boulders will survive and stay on that beach, right? And that's what's happening right now. And I mean, what a cool opportunity that is, right? So I'm ramping up. I'm keeping some extra savings on the side. Now, if you've got all that in place, and by the way, here's another bonus. Lines of credit, like especially home equity lines of credit, if you can access it, not just open the line of credit, get it out, right? Like get it out of there. Like, and even move into another bank in case you're worried that the bank might try to come and pull it out again, right? Like get that money out. Just 2 weeks ago, I went and cashed out the rest of my home equity line of credit. Even though I had available lines, I cashed it all out. Now, some people,
when you say cash it out, you mean like got rid of it?
Like pulled all the money out of it and maxed it out. So, which seems totally counterintuitive. Again, I'm an anti-financial advisor, right? I hate stocks. I'm telling you to go into debt, right? But here's why. Because the last recession, the thing that I did wrong is I put a ton of money into my home doing the whole Dave Ramsey thing, right? Mm-hmm. And I knew that Dave Ramsey was kind of full crap, like I knew it was like that wasn't the best method, but I was thinking, well, it's fine because right now, 2006, 2007, I was saying, hey, it doesn't matter. I can always cash it back out later. I can always just open up a line and cash it out because the banks will give you money whenever you want it. And then the recession hit and then they wouldn't let you get it. Or two, even if you had it, and I saw this happen all the time, those that already had those lines of credit, even with 800 plus perfect credit scores, they would get cut. They would cut it down. They said, nope, you can't get access to all this money. And I saw a lot of people in the last few years would tell me, they say, Chris, like, yeah, I've been aggressively paying this down, this line of credit. Then I'm going to charge it up and invest it. And then I'll pay it down and then charge it up and, pay it down, but they pay it all the way down to zero. I'm like, don't do that anymore. Like you leave that thing maxed because they can't cut your limit down below where your balance is.
Yeah.
So let them take the money out, keep the cash on hand. Worst case, yeah, you might pay an extra $100, $200 a month. Whoop-de-doo. If that $100 or $200 a month gives you an extra, say, 50 grand of cash, cool. You could pay that forever, if you had to. Worst case, you pay it back into it later if you didn't need it, right? But I'm just saying, like the people that are going to come out of this the strongest are those that have the cash. So that's what I mean by get liquid and then getting out. Stock market is not the place to be right now. We talked about that beforehand, right? Like so many people are saying, hey, well, the market went down like 20, 25%. It's on sale. We should buy more. And of course, the financial advisors are eating it up because they always get paid based on what you throw in. Notice that when the market went up, they didn't tell you to not buy when it's getting more expensive, right? There's like, no, keep buying. It's going up. And then when it goes down, what do they keep saying? Keep buying. It's never a bad time to buy. Doesn't that seem like crap to you? Like that sounds like pharmaceutical industry, like to the T, Yeah. And that's what the financial industry is they're basically pharmaceutical with money, and that's what's happening is that they're saying, hey, buy when it goes on sale. If they were a smart advisor, they'd say, you know what? Recessions take at least 2 to 3 years minimum before the market hits the bottom. Wait till then, right? Mm-hmm. Save up your money, wait, and then throw it in if it even makes sense. But the truth is they won't tell you to do that because they're like, well, I don't know, and you don't know. None of us know when it's going to hit bottom or when it's going to hit top. So just keep putting money in because none of us are smart enough to know. Mm-hmm. The truth is that none of us are actually, the reason that we're not smart enough is not because we're not smart enough. It's because the market is stupid. The market will do whatever the hell it wants to do. We can't decide. We can't predict it. That's the way we should not be in it. It's just a gamble. It's a total sham. And I get it because I used to teach that same stuff, but this is not the time to do it. And legally, I can't tell you just cash out all your stocks, right? Or your mutual funds or your retirement plans or whatever. But if it has gone down and you're like, well, I don't want to have to pay a lot of taxes, this might be the good time to pay taxes on it before it goes up again, right?
Right, yeah.
Out and move it out. And there are plenty of places to put it. Like, most of my clients that are hiring me right now are saying, okay, I've got some cash, just like you. Like, I've got some cash. What do I do with it? And if we already got enough for reserves, then it's like, hey, maybe we get in places that's more certain. Like, I love buying stuff around dealing with real estate, right? It could be a real estate fund. It could be a real estate actual investment, like buying the property. Like last weekend, we put an offer on 3 properties. I was like, let's buy it right now. We found some good opportunities. The numbers made sense. I make at least at minimum 12 to 15% a year on these properties, not including appreciation, just the cash income that's coming in.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, on those 3 properties, I'm putting $75,000 down, but it's making me $1,000 a month, you know? And I'll tell you, like, I've spent the last 10 years trying to create, like, recession proof myself, because it hurt me so bad the last time. I said, I will never again be caught with just one main stream of income with my business, or 2 streams even. Like, I need to have multiple streams of income, multiple legs to keep that table firm, right? So right now I've got 15 to 16 different streams of income. You know, many of them are through my business. I've got multiple streams there, some residual or passive, or some of them, 2 of them are active of those 16. But the rest of them, I got other investments that pay me cash flow every month. So even if someone says, hey, your business is shut down now, I still got money to pay the bills, which also helps my savings last longer, right?
Yeah. Like, I mean, I know the docs even that I speak to who have diversification, they see it in diversifying in, like, they own gyms, they own different types of medical spas, or multiple clinics. And then who knew that something would happen where it basically wipes out all of those
all
at
of them
one time. And I mean, even here, the other thing was, like, I was looking at investing in short-term rental properties. Like I'm going to buy a property, it'll be an Airbnb. This is like an ATM, right? Who would have known that, people who are probably making a really great income a month ago doing that with multiple short-term properties are probably kind of scrambling right now.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So it's interesting. Like, do you have, like, do you recommend then that, if you're looking at investing in real estate, that you do the long-term rentals?
I've been doing more long-term rentals myself. That tends to be the best, because the one thing is, you can't stop feeding people food, right? And they still need a place to live, doesn't mean that with this time, like especially with all the all the edicts that are out there saying, hey, if they say they can't pay, you can't evict them, and some of that's rumor, some of that's truth, right? But I mean, either way, even if that wasn't the case, even if the government wasn't trying to force my hand, the truth is, and I, by the way, I don't manage these properties myself. I don't even know the names of my renters, honestly. Like, I have property managers do everything for me. I stay more passive and so, with those people, like, something might happen. Something might occur where they can't pay, but I still want to work with them. Like, hey, what do we need to do to work this out? How do we keep you going? Because I believe that kindness, that karma that you create, I call it karmic debt, right? And when you put out a lot of good, that debt has to pay you back. Like, it just has to. That's what I did in the last recession. Like, there's times I was broke, but I still would focus on serving people. Even meant I was shoveling driveways, like shoveling my neighbor's driveway just to build up that karmic debt. I was like, I want to make sure there's no reason why karma cannot pay me millions, like I would build that sucker up, and I think that's the case now. And again, that's why it's good. If you have those cash reserves, you don't stress. You're like, you know what? We'll pay it on the back end. When things get worked out. Worst case, it doesn't get worked out. Yes, I have to evict you. I get a new tenant and things work out great. But again, it's like, this is the kind of thing we want to use to be able to weather through that, And one of my property managers, in fact, just sent an email yesterday saying, hey, we're taking donations for a fund to help people if they got laid off because of the virus. I was like, that's kind of a cool idea. Like, not bad,
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, how do I say this? Like, I mean, without sounding like I'm like opportunistic, but I do. I'm one of those crazy people who do believe the government's going to step in and help us.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm Canadian though, too. I don't know, like what the temperature is down there. So I feel like, I think one of the examples, and this could be accurate or not. But it was something like, okay, there'll be, like, for small business who I'm a small business, there'll be like a no interest loan of $40,000, like a line of credit. And I'll be all over that. And I mean, even though I'm still doing fairly good in my space. So I do feel that there's a lot of, as we come out of this, and I don't think we know when that will be, but there will be opportunities for small businesses to have those types of loans to get back on their feet. And so moving forward, this is probably something that they should be discussing with something like with you, so that they aren't caught again in a place.
Exactly.
Yeah. So they know what to do with that money, and don't follow the traditional, I guess I call it like the traditional investment route. That got
It's the
them in trouble.
mainstream route, right?
Yeah.
It's like let's drug them. It's like let's use sick care instead of healthcare, right? That's basically what it is. There's a way to come out on top, and again, maybe that's why I'm so excited, because this is the first recession out of the last few recessions we've had where actually I have opportunity. Like I have money to do things with. I'm in a good place where, no matter what hits me, even if some of these income streams get limited or even knocked off completely, I've got so many other streams of income that's there. And that's the big thing I've been preaching for the last decade, right? Was, guys, like, this is going to happen again. You need to prepare. Like, this is the time. And maybe you're too late now, but maybe you're not. Maybe there's still time to do it.
Yeah. Well, I get it. And I mean, like, full transparency, last year, I took your advice. Like, I have a healthy relationship with my bank account. And so every day I check in with my bank account, I check in with all my numbers, right? But, I'm far ahead where I was at this time last year. And
that's awesome.
There's part of me, I go, that's awesome. And then there's part of me that goes, I feel kind of like badly. Like, I'm like, because there's so many people that got, and I was one of those people back in 07, 08. And I know what it would be like right now if I was still in practice today with the way that I was operating back then, Chris, I would be out of business right now.
Yeah.
Like, I would be. So,
and that's why you should not feel badly. That's because think about it, like, if all of us fell apart, right? Which there are going to be even big businesses that don't have enough cash to keep going. Even after here in the US, we're getting government bailouts by the trillions. Still, that money will run dry. Or people that are already in excessive debt, were almost about to go under. They're just like this much away from going under. They will go under, no matter what kind of bailouts they get. And I think that's good, right? Because it kind of does clean out the pool a little bit. Gets all the poop out of it, right? So
drain the swamp.
But what it does is, when you're strong, you're able to stay there and be that leader and say, hey, you know what? Like, I'm not suffering. I can still keep this economy going, because you have your own economy that does help other people. If we all collapse together, everybody suffers. But if there's others, the world will say that rich should be sharing. They shouldn't be doing this. The truth is, we do share, because every time we spend $1, we're sharing our money, and if we don't have any dollars to spend, nobody's sharing, and we're all going broke.
There's no jobs. Yeah. And I mean, and because of that, I have time. I'm not in a crisis mode. I actually have time to give back. So like, I did 9 hours of training yesterday. Like, I have time to create stuff to try to help people to come out of that pit. So, and that's kind of like what you're doing as well for a lot of people. I mean, is that something that, like, well, number one, I'm going to put a couple of call to action here. So number one is actually, so moneyripples.com. So that's the website. And then your podcast is Chris Miles' Money Show, right?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah. And I mean, so if a doc is listening and they're like kind of resonating with our conversation, how can they get in touch with you? Is the website the best place, or to start with the podcast, or both?
Absolutely. Yeah. Website's great. Go to moneyripples.com. By the way, like, when I talk about getting lean, all those things that I learned from the last recession, like ways to free up cash that actually helped the average chiropractor free up about $34,000 a year. There's actually a free ebook you can get on there called Beyond Rice and Beans. And so, you definitely get that for free. And then, if you have questions, you can always just reach out through the site.
Cool. And actually, you are one of our sponsors of the Chiropractic Philanthropist. So thank you for that. So anyone who is actually receiving our email, or if you're accessing your podcast through the email, you'll see a special link there. You can actually check out moneyripples.com or the podcast as well. Dude, I want to thank you for being on the show. And, this is kind of a concise show, but I think what we should do is have another conversation. And we talked about this again, even before we jumped on, because we don't know what to expect tomorrow, do we? We don't know what's going to happen. And I love how you said, no one can predict how the stock market or any of this is going to play out over even the next few weeks. So it'd be great if we maybe get on and have some of these really transparent conversations to help doctors.
I think that'd be great. It'd be the good next step too, right?
That would be the good one. But I love this too. And I'm just going to kind of surmise this is, your advice of get lean, get liquid, and get out. Was that, that was it? Yeah.
That was it.
Cool. Yep. Awesome. Well, I want to thank you for being on the show today. Anyone who's listening, head over to thechiropracticphilanthropist.com And you can actually check out a webpage dedicated to our discussion with Chris Miles today, and all those links will be there as well. Thank you for being on the show. Appreciate you, brother.
Hey, it's my pleasure. Appreciate it.
So you've heard the struggles, you've heard the successes, and this episode is done. But there's still so much more to come and so much more to learn. Head on over to thechiropracticphilanthropist.com and sign up for our newsletter, where you'll receive free practice building tips and strategies, including how to market your practice with your very own podcast and so much more. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on The Chiropractic Philanthropist.